Hello and welcome to this episode of Effective Websites. Let's talk about how to create a good password. To start with, let's begin by talking about hacking. Hacking has been getting a lot of attention lately. It seems as though no website is safe if someone really wants to get in. Hardly a day goes by but what we hear of a major corporation or even a government that's been hacked and not only lost thousands of people's personal information but sometimes secrets of state. Want to know how bad it is? Google password cracking software, and you'll get just under 1.5 million hits. These programs are especially good at what they do. Some boast that they can try up to 8 million possible passwords a second. 8 million a second. To put that in perspective, it can try every single word in the English language in less than 1 second. Or put another way, it can try every word in every language in less than 15 minutes. The bottom line is that passwords are obsolete, but until someone comes up with something better, we're stuck with them. Scary, isn't it? Now then, the passwords you've been looking at traveling across the background of this video to this point are, well, unfortunately not only frequently used by people, but according to PC World magazine, the 25 worst passwords ever. How many fractions of a second do you think it would take to figure any one of those out? Equally as bad are passwords that use initials, birthdays, anniversary dates, or street addresses. A person may as well use their bank account and routing number as their username and password. So let's talk about how to create a strong password. A good password should have the following. It should have at least one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, one number, one special character, and it should be at least 6 to 8 characters long. Most people know that, but they don't do it because they're hard to remember. Or if they do it, they take a word like password and render it like this, which again, as you can see, isn't worth very much. Here's an easy technique that you can use to create strong passwords that'll be easy for you to remember, but at the same time, very difficult for password crackers. This is the system that we use at Effective Websites. Instead of using a word, use a sentence. It might be a memorable line from a movie like, "Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn." Or it might be an opening line from a book. "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." Or could even be a pet expression that you personally use. "What did you expect? I'm a guy." Let's use that last one as our example and convert it into a password. The first thing we'll do is reduce it to the first letter of each word, keeping the punctuation. We need a number, so we'll substitute the number 1 for the letter I in I'm. Since we need special characters, let's change the W to these little upside-down carrots. Let's substitute an @ sign for the letter A. Okay, now we need an uppercase character, so let's just change the Y in U to an uppercase U. We'll leave the punctuation intact, and it's beginning to look like a pretty usable password, but we aren't done yet. Because you should never use the same passwords for different logins, and because you don't want to have to create and remember hundreds of different passwords that go with different accounts, let's do one more thing. Using the same password, let's add the initials of the site that we're logging into to the front and back end of the password. So for Bluehost, it would look like this. For Shape5, it would look like this. For Joomla, for SiteGround, for Joomshaper. And you can do this for every site that you need to log into. It's a very easy way to remember the password, but also very, very difficult to hack. All that remains to be done now is to keep this password in a secure location. If you're using KeePass, the password keeper that we recommend in episode GS8, KeePass, open a new entry. It will look like this. Enter the name of the website where it says title. Enter your username here. When you click on these 3 dots, you can enter your newly created password here. Your web address goes in the URL box. And under Notes, put down how you arrived at that particular password by including the sentence that you started with. What did you expect? I'm a guy. Or, in your case, whatever sentence you came up with. Let's wrap things up. First, Don't be lazy and think about using the password we created in this episode of Effective Websites. Because it was used online, you can count on the fact that it will now almost certainly be included in password cracking programs as a password worth checking out. Come up with your own. Don't share your password with anyone. Third, don't use a public computer or a computer that doesn't belong to you. And fourth, all passwords are hackable. But if you take passwords seriously and frequently back up your website, you're going to make it significantly more difficult for hackers to get in. That's it for this episode of Effective Websites. In the next video, we'll talk about selecting a host for your website. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.